I don't really know what I'm going to say, so we'll see what comes out. The sense of self has been up a lot lately for us. I know Ayya has been talking about it a lot lately, and for me, I think probably the entire time I've been practicing, that's been the one that I've had to work on the most. Um, Out of the three characteristics, so the dukkha is clear. The impermanence is very clear, but the sense of self is very sneaky for me. It shows up in ways I wouldn't expect usually, and it's been I don't know how long now, 20 years of poking around looking at it, and it's interesting. We've been doing a lot of these retreats lately, and it was funny. I think I told one or two of you a little bit about this before, but um, at the retreats at the end of, I think the one at Spirit Rock, it was funny. I had a string of like people poking me funny. So at the end, we're giving out our little blessing bracelet things, and this lady that I've known maybe probably about 10, 12 years now, um, she comes up for her little bracelet and she's like, "You're going to be a great nun one day." And I'm like, "What's wrong with me now?" And she's just all, "Oh, well." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm just messing with you. Don't worry about it." But it's just kind of funny, like 10 years ago, I probably would have been kind of upset. But now it's just like, yeah, okay, I can see where she's coming from, like she's known me a long time. She's older. She kind of is facing some things herself right now, and this is how it's coming out, and it really doesn't have anything to do with me. So it's like the the story you could build around it, the story I could make around it, kind of work myself up into if I wanted to, doesn't really occur so much the same. And then um, and then this other lady after the same retreat, she's like, I don't know her quite as well, but well enough. And she's like, "Oh, you've lost so much weight." And I was like, "No, I didn't lose any weight. I'm the same." And she's like, "Oh, it must be the Dhamma, just like fluffing it right off of you." And I'm like, "No, no, I haven't lost any weight. I haven't gained any either." It's all still the same, but her perception has always been that I'm fat. And so it's like when the reality of me is right in front of her, it's like, "Oh, it's just fabric." Oh, okay. So like that's gone. But in her mind, it's like, you know, fat. And then reality is in front of her. And it's like, oh, okay, I can't be wrong. She must have lost weight. So that was kind of funny too. And the old me would have been like, she thinks I'm fat. I could have really taken that personally. And then another thing happened. What was it? It was kind of, oh yeah. I shouldn't go into this story because some of you at least will figure out who this is. But basically, someone was really excited that I wasn't going to be around, and it was just going to be Ayya Cittananda, and they would have her all to themselves. And they started their sentence with, "I hope you don't get angry about this, but," which is always a bad sign. "You should not continue the sentence." But she did, and the effect of it was like she was glad I wasn't going to be there. And um, yeah, more things to take personally that you don't need to. And there's something else that was really funny that, right, we were talking to some people, and they were telling us about their son and these special classes he had in school because he was so smart. And um, and maybe their daughter too. can't quite remember, but they're talking about their children who are about my age, maybe a little bit younger. And they were like, I was like, oh yeah, I had those classes too. They give you an IQ test and they make you do these separate classes sometimes. And one of them goes, really? You really? And then the other one goes, oh, it's not about how smart you are. It's about how hard you work for those classes. And I'm like, no, this is an IQ thing. They make you take tests and see. And they just like couldn't, they were just so confused by this. I was talking to Einstein Tuska afterwards, and I was like, "Did you hear what I heard? Like and she just cracked up, and I did too. It's just like, okay, well, pretty clear what they think about this." So we're kind of having an interesting, like, it was just kind of funny, it's like, well, okay. And it's funny because like all these things, it was all like stacked up in a row together. And I didn't really have much reaction. And I know before I would have, like I know that 10, 15, 20 years ago, I probably would have been really upset by any one of these, because these are things that we really identify with, like the lady calling me, well, her perception of me being fat, it's like the body, we so much identify with this thing as us. And the world puts so much on that, you know, this is what we see, this is what people um, see when they look at us. It's a whole, yeah, one of the first condos that we identify with. So it's like, that's a big deal. And then like our intelligence or our character, like, oh, one day you'll be a good nun, it's like you're not good enough now somehow. And like the perception of being accepted, like, oh, I'm glad you're not coming, it's like all these things. It's so like kind of the judgments of other people can be so uh, difficult and painful because we have this sense of self that wants to survive. It's built into our brains as like the amygdala is very strong and like wants to live and wants to survive, and the judgment of other people is um, so important. Like, you get it. Like, we're very tribal and we survive with the help of others. Nobody can survive alone, kind of thing. So it's kind of core, and it makes us act funny when that is threatened. So, know, um, it's kind of nice to see that like none of this really had that big of an impact. It wasn't so crushing as I know it would have been before. So that's one thing. And it's like, it's clear, knowing everybody in all of these situations, it's clear to me that none of it is really about me. And there's like there's no need for it to be about anyway, but we've all got so much conditioning and so much of our own um, yeah, the me and mine and the sense of ownership, or the sense of being and becoming that we have, that comes out of all of that conditioning, is just coming out. And it's it's good for us to have the mindfulness around it for ourselves. Like, we want to be skillful. We don't want to say weird things or be judged for the weird things either, because it is just coming out of our own conditioning. And there's nothing to beat ourselves up about or feel guilty about or feel bad about, but it's good to put in the right effort to really look at ourselves and see where our weaknesses are, where we're, where we could make improvements, and, but also not to like focus on that so much either. Because like the right effort has four parts, if we only focus on the things that we need to change or that are not good. We can get depressed or feel like there's just so much and we're never going to make any progress. But it's uh, good to also pull back and look at where we are making progress or the things that we have changed and the things that are good in ourselves, and bring that up frequently too, so we don't just kind of go down. It's easy to, especially, I don't know if it's worse for monastics, like if that's stronger, the sense of um, you're not doing enough kind of a feeling, like there's the pressure we put on ourselves, like hurry up and make progress and go, and sometimes that's like, it's like not in the most healthy way. So I like coming back to right effort and remembering um, all the good stuff too. Like we have to be able and willing to really look at ourselves. And this has been up to lately, like the truth, always telling the truth no matter what, keeping that fourth precept really strongly. And I think it kind of includes um, not lying to ourselves. I feel like it's really good to honestly see the things that we don't want to see when our sense of self is trying so hard to protect itself, like not look at the bad and also not look at the good. So yeah, that commitment to truth means seeing it no matter what and not trying to cover it up or pretty it up or make excuses, or kind of like if you were at Sutta study last night, the Sutta was talking about um, the sense of self wanting to justify its reasons for existence, or wanting to be because of this or that, or like trying to, really struggling to hang on and like really cling and become. So seeing where that is, seeing where the sense of self wants to fluff itself up or make much of it, and not letting it basically, like really staring it in the face and saying, oh yeah, unwholesome, how can I loosen the grip? um, yeah, so that's been up lately too. And yeah, focusing on the three characteristics, the dukkha, anicca, and anatta of like, say, the all the worldly winds and all the weird stuff that's been happening for me lately is like, the loss and gain, and the what is it, loss and gain, pleasure and pain, praise and blame, and um, fame and disrepute. It's like all these things are just dukkha, anicca, and anatta. It's like none of it is ourselves. It comes and goes, and really looking at that to help grow the equanimity around it, because it's never going to stop in this world. And with samsara being so, like we live in samsara, but nibbana is also here now. It's all existing together at the same time. And the the coolness of nibbana and the coolness of equanimity, like if you have full enlightenment, none of this touches you anyway. You see through it all, and it's just like, oh yeah, okay. Okay, worldly winds, there it goes. I mean, even the Buddha had the worldly winds, coming at him all the time, but he was fine. People would come and try to argue, people would say things that weren't true about him, or even if they were, like in twisted ways, and he was fine with it. He'd calmly explain, and sometimes he wouldn't bother explaining, knowing that some people wouldn't be able to hear it, or they would take it wrong, and then it'd lead to their misunderstanding and their harm. So he just wouldn't bother. So it's a it's a good example. And yeah, talking about like, yeah, people would ask the Buddha for forgiveness for things they've said or done, and he'd be like, well, I forgive you. That wasn't good. That wasn't skillful, but it's okay. I forgive you. And yeah, somebody wrote a question at one of the retreats about um, how do you forgive the unforgivable? And it's like my immediate reaction was like, nothing is unforgivable. You don't, forgiveness is usually for the forgiver and not for the one that needs the forgiveness. It's like if somebody's passed away already, but you forgive them later, they don't benefit at all from it. And it's like if you want the peace and the happiness for yourself and the freedom from the suffering of whatever it is that somebody else has said or done or whatever they think. And it's like, um, why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you give yourself that? So yeah, forgiveness is essential for our own happiness, not holding on to things and clinging to basically the hurt that makes the sense of self bigger and more solid, like identifying with the dukkha, identifying with being a victim or whatever, you know, whatever pain there might be that keeps this going. I think I've run out of the rambles. Anybody else have any comments or want to talk?
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Is that Mayura? I can't see.
And I'm
Hi,
saying,
Mayura.
you're saying sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Yeah,
Ah,
thank you. Anne
hey.
wants to speak.
Sorry?
Anne wants to speak.
Hi, Anne.
Yeah, hi. I'm sad that I have to leave for an appointment, but this is such a rich discussion that you brought up. And my heart goes out to you because in the position you're in, you can take a lot of projections. I mean, people are ready to project on people. And I wrote in there microaggressions
Uh-huh.
because there was a woman who came to live here and she had quite a serious disfigurement. And so she's come to a senior community where, there's no, we're not talking about perfection anymore. But, and she shared with me that she took so many, as she called microaggressions, which I hadn't really understood exactly what it was like. But for example, with a serious facial and skin disfigurement, somebody said to her one day, "Oh, I have to stay out of the sun too. Look at my skin, I get sunburned." And, attempting to reach out and bridge between her, this person and the person with the disfigurement. But, and unfortunately, this person had had too much. And so she couldn't take it as being the other person, whatever. But, um, I I applaud you for speaking up today, and I love you, and I
Oh.
know you've been always wonderful in my life, and you have a lot of wisdom, and don't let the buggers get you down. That's all I can say.
That's nice.
As you don't,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
just human beings. We can be very insensitive and coming from our own views of things in a very insensitive way. So,
Yeah. And again, like the people in the stories, like I know them all more or less well. And I know there's no like ill intent anywhere. It's just
right,
people have their things and it's
right, exactly.
projection. Like I guess you say, it's a lot of
Yeah,
projections. And
yeah,
it's funny kind of being me too. It's like
yeah.
the sub. It's just like, Yeah.
Thank you.
But it's okay. I'm okay. I'm okay. Don't like.
I know you're
don't
okay.
worry. Don't worry.
I
I'm
know
playing the
you're.
talkies. It's okay.
I know you're okay. I know
Yeah.
you're okay.
Okay. Thanks, Anne. We'll miss you. Bye. Okay, Mary Lou.
Um, I also appreciated very much your sharing. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You said something about 4 parts to right effort.
Uh-huh.
I'm not familiar with that. Can you
Yeah.
enlighten me, please?
Yeah. So like right effort, do good things that you haven't already been doing and continue doing the good things that you have been doing. So that's 2. And then stop doing the bad things that you are doing and don't let new bad things come up. Don't start doing new bad things.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Okay, Suzanne. Oh, was that it, Mary Lou?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciated this talk. It was like perfect timing for me because it's so interesting to watch this system. Like sometimes it's full of joy and love, and sometimes it's very reactive. And recently, a friend said something to me, and there was a really unpleasant reaction for me. And so it was really recently. I'm going to apologize. But it's so interesting how people perceive things so differently. And I've learned a lot from that. And then just a few weeks ago, something similar happened where I said something I regretted. I apologized to the person, and that person said, "Oh, I didn't take it that way at all. It
Uh-huh.
didn't hurt my feelings at all."
Yeah.
And so that was really interesting. So what do you have to say about apologizing?
Yeah, it depends. I mean, if it feels like the right thing and it's like it's not going to stir up something for somebody that's unwholesome, it's good. It's not always good to apologize. Sometimes it does just make things worse. Um, and then in that case, you do what you can in other ways. If you can be supportive of that person in some other way, then you do that. But sometimes apologizing really makes all the difference. So knowing whoever it is that you feel like you need to apologize to, from what you know of them, kind of trying to gauge whether or not it's supportive is good. And then if there's a chance that it is good, or like you know, yeah, if there's a pretty good chance that it's going to help, then it's good to do it. And that digs away at your sense of self, having that kind of humility. So I can't lose there. That's good. Yeah, yeah. And then it's also good to, like, I don't know about apologize, but like forgive yourself for the things too. Because like whatever you said to your friend, looking at where it was coming from you, knowing that, there was some kind of feeling there that wasn't wholesome. And then examining that and putting in the right effort to not let that happen again, to tell yourself, okay, that is worthy of apologizing for, and it's because of my intention or my feeling underlying it. I've got to stop that. Yeah, I don't know. That's probably enough. Yeah.
Yes, I'm done. I just want to say too that the confession practice is really helping. I love that.
Good. Yeah. Yeah, I like it too. My confession buddy is Ayya usually, and it's always a good time to investigate, even if like there's nothing confessable, but it's like encroaching on a rule that you could be breaking. It's always nice to hear other people's experiences with it and learn from each other's wisdom too, and then have that accountability is good. So yeah, I like it too. Paula and Phil?
Hi, good morning. Thank you for the talk. I get stuck sometimes as the beginner I am. What if there's no self? What is this, to use your expression, which I really like?
um, yeah, none of this is self. You know, the
Yeah.
body, the brain, the mind, the karma of it all, the conditioning. None of what you're looking at and all the bits that we tend to identify with out of the five aggregates, you know, form, feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness, any kind of consciousness, none of that is self. So I'm just kind of, you know, waving around at the nebulous this over here because it is nebulous this over here, and none of it is self. Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of things it's not, this is not. And what it is a spiritual feeling you get during meditation of being in the present moment. I mean, what's left?
Yeah, it's a good question to keep asking ourselves what's left. It's like,
Nothing needs to be left as far as I'm concerned, but
yeah,
what am I
yeah.
experiencing? I'm definitely there's something experiencing something here.
Yeah, I always think of it as a process that's running. It's not so much noun as it is verb. You know, we have this process is running, this awareness process, you could say. This, like Ajahn Amaro talks about it like pure consciousness. It's just consciousness kind of running. And with enlightenment, the process just stops.
I-
It's not running the same way. It's like a computer program. You've got all this hardware and it's the processes that are running that make it go. And when the processes stop
the consciousness stops,
or something.
and then something else happens, which we'll find out when we get there.
Yeah. That's right. I mean, this stuff is so beyond words, and that's why it's so hard to explain.
Yeah,
And people try all the time and use different words, and it's just yeah, it's all just based off of karma, like, and conditioning running this process, and this craving running this process. And then when we're done, it just kind of stops. And the awareness might still be there in some form or some way, but we see it for what it is. Oh no, I'm not enlightened yet. I'm just taking stabs in the dark. Oh, not so
moving
dark,
forward a
but
little. Thank you so much.
I have a follow-up.
okay.
So my follow-up is once I knew that Cynthia had passed
Mm.
and I had been sharing merit to Cynthia for so many weeks and months, then I'm like, okay, now what am I sharing merit with? Because I know you can share merit with people after they've passed, you know, like maybe your parents or something, but that doesn't make sense anymore.
Mhm.
I'm just wondering if you can speak to that. Like, what?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. It's the same thing. We all have this, it's the karma attached to this consciousness that keeps it going, you know, this craving. And so the being in whatever form Cynthia is in now, it's still a being unless she's enlightened. Like
So when you share merit, what are you sharing merit to? I mean, I understand
Hmm.
what your first comment, but I'm trying to.
Yeah. So there's a sutta about this, about sharing merit with the dead.
Okay.
It's it's a little narrower in a way. It's like the Buddha says, if the person that has passed away is somewhere where they can receive the sharing of the merit, then they will. But usually that's just in a lower form, a lower realm. You can't really share merit with somebody who's already moved on to their next life.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't really work so much. It's good if you've got somebody who's like in a hungry ghost realm or somewhere not so
Oh, okay.
and then so and people are like, well, what if I don't have what if that person didn't go to a lower realm? I still want to share it. And it's like, well, the Buddha says you've got some relatives or some, relations somewhere in those realms, and they can take part in that merit sharing. But the person's kind of already moved on. And so to share the merit, I personally feel like it still does have an impact because if she's somewhere good, she still might know that you're doing it and benefit from the meta.
But it's
And
not her anymore.
it's not her, but devas in other realms remember their past lives often.
Oh,
You know?
okay.
So if she's a deva, she might remember being Cynthia and Paula over there sharing merit with me, and oh, how nice. So it still might work. The merit might not have the impact of benefiting her in the same way, but she might still feel it. She might still feel the metta and see that. So it's still nice. I still do it.
You still
Yeah,
do it, did you say?
do it. Yeah, I
You still do it.
like that.
Okay,
Share
thank you.
merit.
That's helpful because I've been kind of like hitting the wall every time I sit to meditate. Like, okay, what am I doing now?
Yeah,
That's helpful. Thank you.
yeah, sure, sure. Okay, hi Philip.
Yeah, so if my usual way of dealing with stuff is just to avoid, right? Like, I don't want to think about, is it the other person's views and opinions? Is it my views and opinions? How do I deal with that? And the dukkha. So if my natural way of dealing with it is just to avoid, right? So I, my thought of like why I should still practice is number one, you can never avoid dealing with other people forever, right?
Yeah.
And also, if I know that I don't have my mind is not peaceful, then even while I'm away from people, I'm not peaceful. That means there's still something to work with, right? Like I'm wasting my opportunity in this lifetime to practice, right? That's like that would be like the reasons to keep working with it. Um, like are those kind of like the signs that you see? Like, yeah, you could avoid all you want, and that you could avoid dukkha, but then you're not addressing the issues, right?
Yeah, the dukkha will still come up when those worldly winds hit you some form in some form. And it's true, it's like I'm pretty conflict averse myself. So I understand not wanting to deal with it, but it's not so much about like fixing or understanding the other person ever. Not really. It's always about where you're stuck. It's always about where I'm stuck on this feeling that's arising because of whatever's occurring out there. And that's the part where we can actually make headway. The stuff is always going to happen out there, like you're saying. The worldly winds, this is samsara. Something's always going to happen. Someone's always going to have some kind of problem, or, say you do something unwholesome or upsetting or just kind of unkind or lazy or whatever it is. It's like that's always going to be there. And the only thing we really have control of is our own mind and what we do with it. Having the mindfulness around our own feelings, the mindfulness around, or the clear comprehension around what that is. So spending the time to investigate your feelings and your discomfort. I like the UFO thing. I love my UFO practice. UFO tracking, UFO tracking last night. We're at Sutta study, and I call it UFO, uncomfortable feeling observations. So I do my UFO tracking and see where it is in the body, and working with the sensation of it, and then the meaning behind it, or what the discomfort is, and being willing to put your time and energy into that is what's going to make the dukkha go away forever. So yeah. Mhm. Oh, I got stuff in the chat. Did you find the right videos? Yeah. Okay, great. Soda pie, huh? Okay. Yeah. Anybody have any more questions or comments? If not, I can just meditate some more.
Well, it's me again. I'm sorry. I think you're a great nun. I missed most of well, the last like 10, 15 minutes I missed because I'm at work, but I just had to leave. I just stepped out of the lab for a minute just to say I think you're a great nun. Okay.
Oh,
So,
thanks, Carol.
so anyway,
So exciting.
I got to go back to work now, but I just felt like I wanted to say something. Okay.
Oh,
All right. Bye. Bye.
It's okay. This person is not trying to be snarky. I know that I know where they're coming from, and part of it is that I don't like to teach. I don't want to be giving talks and stuff all the time. So like, I'm sure that comes into play too. But they're going through some stuff, and it's nothing to do with me. This is them trying to feel something. Yeah. Hi, Paula.
So you're kind of giving a great example of when someone maybe does some blame towards you and how you handle it. And so we're talking like, some of your examples were like, that way, or that one, yeah, that was a blame sort of. But I'm wondering, do you then go inside? What's your way of functioning with praise and blame? And I'm struggling all the time because sometimes I get praised and then I'm like, oh no, that's not me, that's not me. And I feel like I'm not quite approaching that praise the right way, that praise of the self. And I'm wondering, how do you do that? Praise and blame. Are you equanimous? And how do you do that?
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, it's good when I can pull off the equanimous, but I'm usually like you. I'm like, nah, like, but to look at that as just the other side of the same coin of selfing, just the same as blame. The praise is the same as the blame. It's still about this sense of self wanting to exist and feel something and be something. So, like examining that a lot is going to help chip away at the feeling and chip away at the immediate reaction. Like that how no, it's just more sense of self. No, not me, not me. It's like it's all this me. So seeing how it feels when you do the opposite is kind of a fun experiment. Next time somebody says, "Oh yeah, that was so great, Paula. You did such a great job. Thank you," and all this, and see if you're like, "Oh yeah, it was a pretty good job," and see if you can do it from an objective place of like evaluating, did I do that well? Like, was that and don't even say it that way. Maybe say it like, was that a good job? Not did I do that, but was that a good thing? So kind of playing with it like that can help. I do that sometimes too. That's always kind of interesting to see when it works. It's like, oh, yeah, okay. Oh, they're muted again though. I can't hear.
So then you say, okay, I guess that was a lot of work and it worked out right. That was a good job. Then where do you go?
You're done.
You leave it. Yeah, you're just kind of done. You're just like, okay, put that down. Moving on.
And you just say, thank you very much, or
Yeah.
You can be
Yeah.
polite.
Or, oh, happy to help or whatever, but like
yeah,
not pushing it away, and it makes the other person feel good too, I think. It makes
great.
them feel that you've received their gratitude in a nice way.
Well done. Thank you.
Uh-huh. Okay. Okay, Nancy?
I recently had someone tell me how much my daughter had done for them.
Aww.
And how they had touched. And then she said, it's just like you when I came in to see you with my kids when I was a nurse.
Uh-huh.
And I really tried to take it in because we're supposed to remember our kindnesses. That's when I can remember everything I did wrong. It seems like, those things can come up, though less so lately as I, try to move away from that. But to have somebody tell you something you did well in the past that you can then hang on to and go, I did some good things.
Mhm.
So I really tried to take it in. She was feeling very emotional. And so I was really trying to go there with her, like, look her in the eyes and, and, and be with her gratefulness. And I gave her a hug. And so, so it wasn't it was both deeply personal and not personal at all, which I think is what I'm trying to develop. Is you're not really there, but you're functioning in the world. So knowing that that it was good for them, that it was helpful for them, is something that I can hold on to when when I'm just feeling down on myself. It's like, no, there's this other truth as well.
Yeah.
So I find I tried to take it in personally, and not as a strengthening of the ego, but as a weakening of the parts that would tell my ego that it's less than. I don't
Yeah.
know.
It sounds pretty skillful, Nancy. Yeah. I think we do have to do that. I mean, I'm loving the part about, you're not looking at it from an ego point, but you are seeing what it is for what it truly is. That is the truth. You did help somebody. And it's kind of like arahants, like there's no self there, but they're still helping people all the time, from a place of not self. And when people are like, oh, thank you so much, you helped me, like Ajahn Ganha, people are, very appreciative of him. Oh, you said this thing and it really helped me. And he's like, oh, good. But he doesn't, he knows there's no self there owning it. He's always, he's like, oh, that's good, but he doesn't take it in the wrong way. And it sounds like you're taking it in the right way too. So yay. Yeah.
Yay. The other part of that is it meant something to the other person that I took it in.
Yeah.
I didn't just go, oh yeah, well, it was just a job. It was like,
yeah.
No, they needed to say that.
Yeah.
And that helped. So there's a point at not ducking and accepting that from someone is for their good as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Thank you. It's true. I know, I was a nurse too, and I had patients that later came back and said things that, this really meant more than just the job, it meant more to them. So I understand the feeling, and I think it's true. Like people, it's kind of, it's like they're giving you a gift and you don't want to reject their gift, the gift of their gratitude. You don't want to reject that. So it's nice. Yeah. Thanks, Nancy. That's a good points. Hey, Philip.
Oh, I thought someone was before me.
Oh no, they went away, I guess, or I don't
Oh,
know who it was. If you want to talk later, let us know, huh?
I remember this piece of advice that someone gave. It wasn't in a Dhamma setting, but I kind of remember it once in a while. What he said was, "How you feel about a situation is your problem. Like no matter what's going on." And I can kind of see it from the perspective of, yeah, like you just work on your own boundaries. You are clear about your intentions, what you did and said versus what they did and said,
Mhm.
and you can kind of communicate as best as you can to deal with whatever situation, no matter how wrong it was, like who did what. But it still strikes me kind of wrong, like how I feel, right? Like it feels a bit like it's taking the responsibility out of other people who might have been in the wrong.
Uh-huh. No, I think you're right. You do have to do externally what you can and what's right and just and fair in the situation. You want to uphold the good externally too. But if you want to not suffer, then you have to work on the internal part. It's both. We live in, you know, this world, in this reality. So we have to work on the parts that are in the conventional world too. But we also have to work on our internal side. So it's like it's both. Yes, it's true that if you don't want to suffer, you got to work on your own internal feelings around whatever it is. But you also have to, especially if you're in a position of managing other people, or even just working with other people, you want to do what you can for fairness in the world too. Justice and fairness and appropriateness, or whatever, holding other people accountable in appropriate ways is still necessary.
So do you generally agree with that statement, like with an asterisk?
uh, say it again. His
How you feel about a situation is your problem.
Yeah, how you feel about it is your problem. That's true. I think that's true, but you still have to do stuff internally and externally. Yeah, and it doesn't have to be a problem. You don't have to look at it as a problem necessarily either. It's like the feelings are going to come up, and learning how to work with them is necessary and important, but this is just fodder for your growth. They don't have to be like a problem, and they're not going to go away either. I mean, even after enlightenment, feelings arise. They just don't land and hit in the same way. They're seen through. Yeah. Hey, Pig.
I just wanted to thank you for pointing out that praise and blame are the same, and that's going to give me a lot to work with. That was very helpful. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for sharing, Pig. Yeah, it's true. It's funny, it kind of feels the same. Even when you just hear it, it hits in the same kind of way, that ego part that you're not always aware of. Like it can land and feel praise and blame, feel just as much, just the same amount of dukkha. Yeah. Hmm. No, they got a couple of minutes. Anybody else have anything they want to share?
I'd like to say something.
Okay, hi, David.
Well, first of all, thank you. I feel gratitude for um, so much I receive when I'm here, so much I get to like to self-reflect, and then I'm glad that what most of you are struggling. Those are my same struggles, so I don't feel I don't feel alone. And also with the phrase that I think Philip mentioned, like everything that you experience is your problem. Like I have experienced that, and I have phrases like everything that you experience is your work to do, right? So I take it as my responsibility, and I look at the outside, like problems with coworkers and microaggressions and things like that, and I see that I cannot solve the outside, but I have I can solve what I'm feeling, and I can, that pertains to me, that's in my reach. And then I focus on that and I work on that. It's super difficult because, you're in that environment and it's very like, it's like a vacuum, but I have to keep going, keep working. So I feel really grateful for all your comments and experiences. It is very enriching. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, David. That's great. I like that phrasing better too. It's like my feeling, it's just my work. This is my work, not my problem. Yeah. For better or for worse, because
Yeah.
like Peg was pointing out too, like the praise and the blame, it's the same, you know, when somebody says something that makes us feel good too, that too is our work. Am I taking this as me? How much of this am I taking personally? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was great. Thank you, David. Nice sharing. Okay. Have a happy Saturday, everybody. Look out for hungover drivers out there. Be careful.